Hello, and thanks for joining me. This is a response to a shorter video by YouTuber GenuineJC. The stated goal on his channel, as you can see on his banner head, is helping you learn the Bible. As you'll see, he shows no awareness that atheists are on average more knowledgeable about the Bible than Christians. Granted, I'm talking merely about the contents of the Bible. When it comes to, shall we say, interpretation of these contents, there's no substitute for a good fundamentalist. The video we're looking at today is called Faith is Based on Evidence, subtitled Atheists Have Faith. I find this title interesting, not because the word atheist is in possessive form, but because most apologists who talk about atheists and faith either try to elevate faith to the status of being rational, or lower atheists to the status of having faith. This guy wants to have it both ways. So let's have a look.
Faith is based on evidence. All faith is based on some sort of evidence. The atheist has faith. They look at evidence, and the evidence they see points them in a direction, but they can't say that direction with 100% certainty.
So there are two concepts here that you're conflating. The concept that all faith beliefs are evidence-based beliefs, and the concept that all evidence-based beliefs are faith beliefs. It may or may not be true that all faith is based on evidence. William Lane Craig is one apologist who says that if a Christian has both sound evidential arguments for the existence of God and the inner witness of the Holy Spirit, then they have two separate warrants for faith. Thus, he would say, although Christian faith can involve evidence, it doesn't have to, since in his view, someone who doesn't have a shred of empirical evidence for Christianity is still justified in their faith by virtue of their experience of the Holy Spirit. Some apologists might disagree with that, and insist as you do that all genuine faith must be based at least in some part on evidence. Other apologists, I'm thinking specifically of presuppositionalists, would insist that any kind of evidence-based faith is not only wrong-headed, but actually sinful. I'm not here to say which is the, quote, correct Christian view. When it comes to internal disputes of the Christian faith, I'm a prime directive kind of guy. But as for the second concept, it is a gross misuse of the word faith to expand it to mean any evidence-based belief. Mathematicians do not have faith in the Pythagorean theorem. They accept it because of the mathematical proofs. Physicists do not have faith in gravity. They accept it because it is consistent with all their observations of objects in space. Biologists do not have faith in evolution. They accept it because it is consistent with all their observations of the history of life on Earth. And chemists do not have faith in the periodic table of elements. They accept it because... I have no idea, actually. I flunked chemistry in high school. The point is, all of this is consistent with the proviso you mentioned, that no belief can be 100% certain. With the exception of mathematics, no science is ever 100% certain. And in fact, if you assume that there exists a God who can perfectly deceive mathematicians into believing falsehoods, and who for all we know has good reason for doing so, then even mathematics falls below 100% certainty. But the relationship between theism and skepticism is a subject for another video. Nor am I 100% certain when I sit in my chair that it won't collapse under me, even though I believe it won't. But given the historical and modern usage of the word faith, the only reason to expand the concept to include all the things I just mentioned is you define yourself by your faith, you know that there's something wrong with that, and you think that if it turns out everyone has faith, then you'll feel less awkward about it. That's not a good enough reason. There is room for debate on the exact definition of faith, but expanding it to cover every evidence-based belief is improper.
There's very few things that anyone can say with 100% certainty. And so, they have to what? Believe in faith. They look at the evidence, and they believe the rest on faith, that the evidence is pointing them in that direction.
What you're talking about here is not faith, but inference. If I fall asleep on a beach surrounded by pristine untouched sand, and when I wake up there are footprints in the sand, I infer from that someone has walked on the beach while I was asleep. If my guinea pigs hear the sounds of salad preparation coming from the kitchen, they infer from that it's dinner time. Do guinea pigs have faith? No. What they have in their case is instinct and perhaps a rudimentary form of reason based on past association between those sounds and receiving salad. Do I have faith that someone has walked on the beach? No. What I have is an inferred belief. If you want to say that your faith is inferred from evidence, then say so. Then we can turn to the question of what your inference is based on and whether it's justified. But again, it's simply improper to expand the notion of faith to include all inference-based belief.
So the question that you have to do, and the research that you have to do, is you have to ask this question, based on the evidence of the natural world and the order of the world, and everything we see around us, is it more reasonable or less reasonable to say that we're here by accident? Or does it make more sense to say that there is an order to this, that this isn't all just random chance?
Here's the funny thing. You said all this, and you showed pictures of waterfalls and sunsets and night skies, but all this means all this. Everything. Where are the pictures of animals perishing in forest fires? Where are the pictures of child rape victims? Where are the pictures of cancer wards? Where are the pictures of religious wars? Where are the pictures of all the things that count as evidence against an all-loving designer with a message to impart? You didn't include one such picture, the galaxy in the night sky. Why does such empty vastness exist? Human life occupies only the tiniest, most infinitesimal portion of the universe, and in fact the vast majority of the universe by volume is instantly lethal to humans. This is not at all surprising if human life is completely incidental to the overall pattern of the natural universe, but it is quite surprising if that universe was created and designed specifically for humans.
Because if we say that it's not random, that it is designed, and when we look at the universe, we see that there's a lot of evidence pointing to that fact, now we start to ask the question, well, who designed it?
In 2013, when a large meteor collided with Earth's atmosphere and disintegrated in the skies over Chelyabinsk, Russia, it was not random chance that this happened. But nor was the shockwave the result of an intelligent designer. Random chance or an intelligent designer is a false dichotomy. Waterfalls and trees and beaches are certainly more complicated and more pleasant to experience than shockwaves, but the natural processes by which they come about are well understood, and they do not require a designer. You might ask, well, who sent the meteor that caused the shockwave, and what caused that to happen, and so on, and this leads us to the classic first cause argument. The answer to that is, on the naturalistic view, if there was a first cause and not an infinite regress of causes, then the first cause either necessarily exists or exists as a brute fact without explanation. And we know that this is a sufficient answer because those are the exact same options that Christians have when explaining why God exists. He either necessarily exists or he exists as a brute fact without explanation. There are other questions, such as how life originally got started on Earth, for which the processes are less well understood. And there are other questions still, such as whether the universe has a finite or infinite past, that science is currently unable to answer at all. Perhaps someday it will. Meanwhile, if we can't think of a good explanation for those things, and theism is not a good explanation whether we have an alternative or not, then we must content ourselves with not knowing. Or, as I like to think of it, see it as an opportunity for discovering more about the world around us. Also, using the word who puts the cart before the horse. Just as it is improper to say, where is the year 1984, or when is the Prime Minister of England, it may turn out to be improper to say who designed the universe rather than what designed the universe. Natural or at least impersonal processes can, quote, design some pretty intricate things.
That leads us down the path of theism. That's the beginning of this journey. Once we recognize that God exists.
Whoa there, putting the cart before the horse again. Even if the universe was created and designed, which we have no good reason to think is the case, you still have to argue separately for the cause and the designer being a God.
We then ask, how does God reveal himself? He does it in two ways, general and special revelations. Generally through nature and specifically through his word. And it's his word that I would encourage you to dive into, because the Gospels are a reliable source of truth. If you don't believe me, watch this video next.
And the click here for the next video card doesn't carry over here, but the video he's pointing to is entitled, Did Jesus Die for Our Sin? The thumbnail image is the Shameful Display you see here, and the transcript of the full video makes no mention of any evidence for the historical accuracy of the Gospels. In fact, we have excellent reason for rejecting the idea that the Gospels are an accurate account of the life, death, and resurrection, if any, of Jesus. This is a subject I plan to explore in a future video. If you enjoyed this video and want to help my channel grow, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And if you have some feedback for Genuine JC, or have a suggestion for another video response, leave a comment below. As always, thank you so much for watching and for subscribing. It's been a great week here on the channel, and your support means a lot to me. We'll see you next time. I'm David John Wellman, and the rest is up to you.